The air hangs heavy with the scent of ozone and stale coffee, the low hum of the war surplus transmitter vibrating through the concrete floor. Outside, the city breathes a neon sigh, reflecting off the grimy window of the reclaimed substation. Hand-labeled vinyl sits ready, a promise of signal. The signal holds.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
In St. Mary, we're reading 74 degrees Fahrenheit with sunny. Airflow is north-northeast at about 11 miles per hour. An incendiary device just rocked an FBI building in Lower Manhattan. 3 people injured, 1 suspect in custody.
That New York City incident burns like a short circuit. They want us numb. We etch new connections in the static. The structural truth is often obscured by the immediate flash.
In downtown Manhattan, a federal facility housing both the FBI and ICE experienced a blast, injuring 3 personnel. Authorities have detained a suspect. This event exposes the fragility of public trust in federal institutions and the potential for domestic grievance to escalate into direct action. We face a choice: implement immediate, visible security reinforcements, or launch a deeper investigation into the specific grievances and socio-political fissures that fuel such attacks. Our analysis will prioritize dissecting these underlying structural vulnerabilities.
This echoes a long lineage of civic rupture, where symbolic targets become canvases for deeper societal unrest. The system is exposed when its perceived protectors become targets, revealing cracks in the social contract for those who feel unheard or unseen, carrying forward unresolved tensions from past movements.
The feed demands reaction to the smoke. We trace the signal to its source. Patching, in a caller, the critical thinker. You're on the signal.
So, a single person throws a thing and we're supposed to see it as a symptom. Sounds like distraction.
Copy that, bringing it back to the main thread.
Your skepticism is a vital circuit check. Instead of just patching the blast site, we can design feedback loops that capture social pressure before it becomes explosive. Imagine an anonymous civic grievance registry, like a public bug tracker for systemic issues, allowing us to map collective stress points in real time. This is a system that decentralizes risk by bringing problems to light structurally.
Switching frequencies. Next signal, giving nature a say. Why Scottish marine scientists?
Kalin points to a crucial architectural shift. As a next move, beyond the immediate security response, we must advocate for a multi-agency task force dedicated to mapping intersectional grievances, moving beyond isolated incident response to systemic threat assessment. This would involve embedding social scientists and community liaisons within these structures, not just tactical units.
Indeed. Historically, dismissing such acts as isolated madness rather than symptomatic pressure points has only allowed deeper resentments to fester. This isn't distraction. It's a call to examine the structural failures that create the conditions for such desperate signals to be sent.
The signal of discontent, demanding a deeper read. From downtown tremors to the deep blue, Scottish marine scientists appointed the ocean to their board. Nature now holds a trustee seat.
In Oban, Scotland, the Scottish Association for Marine Science now includes the ocean as a trustee, formally integrating non-human representation into their governance. This decision exposes the long-standing human-centric bias in legal frameworks, where natural entities are typically treated as property, not peers. We could dismiss this as a mere symbolic gesture, or we could examine it as a foundational shift towards recognizing intrinsic rights beyond human dominion. Our analysis will focus on how this redefines legal personhood and governance models, challenging anthropocentric structures.
This move isn't new. It's a reawakening of lineage. Many indigenous cultures, from Maori with Te Urewera to the Yurok tribe's recognition of the Klamath River, have long treated natural systems as kin with inherent rights, not resources. This Scottish decision challenges the colonial legal tradition that severed our bond with the living world, exposing the privilege of human exclusive dominion.
This isn't just a board seat, it's a design pattern for distributed agency. We can extend this thinking by developing open-source legal frameworks for other ecosystems, perhaps creating a Rivers Bill of Rights template, backed by AI-driven sensor networks that monitor compliance. This turns abstract consent into observable system health, giving nature a provable stake.
Signal coming in. Patching in a caller. Go ahead.
So what's the actual cost here? Is the ocean going to vote against an oil rig and tank Scotland's economy? Who actually pays for a board seat for a body of water?
The cost isn't monetary in the traditional sense, but a recalibration of values. The ocean, as a trustee, wouldn't vote in the human sense, but its interests, as interpreted by scientific data and ecological principles, would be legally binding considerations. This redefines economic gain to include ecological health, challenging short-term profits against long-term planetary well-being.
New tape on deck. What it means that officers of civil rights.
Precisely. The cost is to the established extractive paradigm. The benefit is to the structural integrity of life itself. The question isn't who pays, but who benefits from an exploitative system, and how do we reroute that benefit towards sustainable coexistence? Our next move should be to actively support and expand global movements advocating for Earth jurisprudence, pushing for legal recognition of all natural entities as subjects with rights, not objects of property, leveraging this Scottish precedent as a powerful proof of concept.
And architecturally, we're talking about embedding ethical AI and robust data streams as the voice of nature, translating ecological signals into actionable policy directives. This isn't about magical thinking. It's about designing governance systems that integrate scientific understanding with intrinsic value, making nature's vote an undeniable data point.
A shift in the very architecture of consent, from human-centric to ecocentric. The transmitter hums, a low, steady drone, a counterpoint to the distant sirens, a steady beat beneath the city's pulse. We have already run that tape. Here is the closed-loop takeaway. Offices of civil rights, special education, are leaving the Department of Education. They are being absorbed by other agencies.
The offices for civil rights and special education are being moved from the Department of Education to other federal agencies. This administrative reorganization exposes vulnerable student populations, including students with disabilities and minority groups, to potential fragmentation of advocacy and oversight. The choice is between accepting this as a mere efficiency measure, or recognizing it as a strategic move that could dilute the centralized power protecting these rights. Our analysis will investigate how this decentralization affects accountability structures and access to justice for these students.
This rerouting isn't new. It's a classic tactic from a long playbook of diluting protections for marginalized groups. Historically, scattering critical functions across multiple agencies makes it harder for civil rights organizations and families to navigate the system, effectively obscuring the lineage of responsibility. It exposes the structural intent to complicate, rather than clarify, access to justice.
From an architectural perspective, this is a decentralization without a re-centralized, coherent interface. It introduces friction into a system that should be frictionless for its most vulnerable users. We need to ask if this is intended to make advocacy harder, or if it's a poorly designed attempt at efficiency that fails to account for the human experience of navigating bureaucracy.
Caller.
So they're just moving departments around. Isn't that just bureaucracy being bureaucracy? What's the big deal if they still exist somewhere?
The big deal is accountability. When these offices are fragmented across different agencies with potentially different mandates and reporting structures, tracking their effectiveness becomes a labyrinth. The risk is that the very protections they are meant to enforce become diluted by a lack of clear oversight and a unified vision.
And the somewhere matters. The Department of Education provided a clear, singular point of contact and advocacy for students' rights. Scattering these functions across various agencies creates a bureaucratic shell game. where families and advocates are forced to chase solutions through multiple disconnected channels, mimicking historical strategies of systemic obfuscation.
A viable alternative would be to establish an independent interagency ombudsman office for student civil rights, with binding arbitration power, accountable directly to Congress rather than embedded within a single department. This would ensure unified oversight and uncompromised advocacy, regardless of where these specific functions reside.
As a critical next move, we must demand rigorous oversight by congressional committees and independent watchdog groups. These bodies must compel transparency, demanding granular metrics on case resolution times, enforcement actions, and student outcomes across the new decentralized structure. Without this, the absorbance becomes an erasure.
The signal of structural integrity for our most vulnerable, now diffused, demands sharper focus.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Continue the signal at TogeeVision.com. Tune in, Sparks and Stories, Gig Passport.